Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're frustrated with, why they, just another good enough to buy. Would love to help you.
Right.
You know, keep you in the authority.
Sure.
That top off. Doors off. It's summer already. Oh, yeah, you got the roller top.
I don't know if you come in, saying it's still there. All right, everyone would rise. It's 7 o'clock. We'll get started. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call. Here.
Lintz. Dreier.
Here.
Gualdoni.
Here.
Bales. Here.
Opening comments? Any opening comments? All right, you see none, we'll move now to the agenda for today's meeting and the meeting minutes of May 11th. Anybody have any additions, corrections, deletions, or otherwise? Yeah, just for the boards, you have the contract and the draft copy of the Waldorf contract. I anticipated putting that on the agenda today, but we won't. It is not past our return to muster yet, so as opposed to doing a passing contingent upon his final rule, I just thought it would be and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, approval of payment of the bills. We have the bills in your packet in the amount of $54,724.91. What is the board's pleasure?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Is there any questions? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call
Bales.
Yes.
Boskee.
vote. Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Fountain, yes. Dreier.
Yes.
Gualdoni.
Yes.
Motion has carried. Correspondence. Anybody have any correspondence? Moves us down to reports. A couple of things. One, I received correspondence today. Nobody was on this board that would have remembered it. Jamie Doherty, who was the principal in BRD Development, which is the proposed mobile home park adjacent to Station 2, our fire station on Davison Road. It is bordered by Davison, Harson, and Elba Road. They had come to the township 26 years ago, wishing to put in a mobile home park. The township was against their proposal. We wound up going to court. Out of that, there was a consent judgment issued. Both parties signed. In that, it spells out the layout of the number of units, that they will be lot owned, not lot rented. Nothing has happened. Mr. Doherty usually comes in to see me every year when it's time to pay taxes and wants to be able to address that. You remember a couple of years ago, he was even wanting to run water lines or have the township in partnership with him, run the water lines down to the site. Of course, that didn't happen either. And I received an email. He said, suppose it's time for me to meet with the board, or would it be the planning commission? Whichever it is, when would be the first opportunity? He would like to present his ideas for us to reopen the consent judgment to allow for a mobile home park, a lot lease park. I bring this to you because it's a real simple thing. We have a consent judgment. I'm sure that none of you have actually read through it because it was all prior to your time. Not even aware of what's in it. Is that something that you actually would want to reopen or revisit? Or would you simply like a response that Elba Township is satisfied with what we negotiated in that consent judgment, and it stands on its face? It is a court document, so it is rock solid. We have no litigation, no anything. The only way that can be reopened is by approval of both of the parties. Then it has to go to the court for the judge to approve, which that judge is no longer on the bench, so it would be the current circuit court judge.
Is he also going to waive the large payment to the sewer?
Well, that's another part of. He skips around that, and for getting into the weeds of that whole redesign of that sewer system required an enlargement of our capacity for Potter's Lake, which and it spells out who's responsible for the main lines in the development. But the other part of that was BRD has made nothing toward the Potter's Lake sewer system, not one penny toward that, and won't until we start a development. When the mobile home park industry was not doing real well, he wanted to piecemeal and sell off a couple of lots. Of course, he can't do that because it's tied to the consent judgment. He can't, take land that is a part of, and there are the fire department, for example, would love to have a portion directly to the west for extension of their parking. but it would have to come back to this board, and it would have to be a non-substantial change. So, you know, to take an acre out of the total acre is not gonna change the layout or otherwise. But if you was to split off, say 20 acres, like you wanna do, that's a substantial change. That affects road layout, it affects natural park sidewalks, and all those sort of things. So, right now, he owns the Potter's Lake sewer system. Without getting the math, the hard numbers will just be $497,000. So, but until they could use that, but then he's not paying any of that until they're actually hooking up, which obviously also increases our use of that. So I bring it to you, hot off the presses today. Respond back, township, respond back our attorney, or if you're interested in hearing what he has to say.
I think we should have a copy of the consent agenda so that we can at least read what it is. It's got to be cut dry before we can make a decision.
I completely agree. As I said, there's no one on this board that was sitting on this board at the time that happened.
I remember.
I remember it happening, but you know, the nuts and bolts of it when it went through, and you know, the devil's in the details with what was agreed on, the mapping and so forth. So I would, whether we responded back or whether we met with them, I believe that, you know, everybody on this board should be able to view that and see what's in it, good, bad, or otherwise.
And then also like what he's requesting, I think that would be a good thing for us to see as well.
I read verbatim.
I'm just saying, but to have it along with it, but, you know, maybe just let them know that we're reviewing it.
I can do that. I will do a simple response back that exactly what I said here, the current board is not familiar with, and it was the company's for them to review accordingly. On the 15th, I had a TNU meeting in Carroll. We are full strength with TNU with the exception of our federal officer. We currently have nobody from the federal government, the Homeland Security, on our team working on getting that rectified. On the 16th of this month is the MTA meeting, chapter meeting. It will be held in Hadley, so it will be very close for everybody to attend. I encourage you to do so. On the 19th of this month, we had 911 meeting, covered our normal business, but one of the standouts of what was accomplished there was the authorization to proceed with Pro QA fire. What that is back in the old days, dispatchers, somebody called for the emergency medical side, dispatcher would walk them through how to do CPR or otherwise. Then we progressed to the flip cards, and now they have an electronic program that actually gives very detailed what the response of the caller is and what their next steps are for all different types of medical emergencies. They also have a similar program with fire, depending upon what the caller is saying, advising the caller their actions and such accordingly. So it's just another step in improving our 911 center, which ultimately helps everybody in Elba Township, including our county, including Elba Township. Part of our ISO rating is based on our dispatch center, and so having the best out there can only help us. And lastly, I guess I will just say I have been really busy with, I'll just call it hate and discontent letters. Ordinance enforcement, light, a lot of the same names that we deal with. The courthouse is getting to know Deputy Nelson quite well, and her appearances on behalf of Elba Township. There is one, I spoke with the attorney today. It is it's been a problem in everything that we've done with this before, and so just the next letter goes on just from the attorney, and I expect the same response from him, which is nothing. Tell us to fly a kite, in which case I'll be back to the board similar to what I did with the Carson Road and get the approval to go to circuit court with it. So, questions, comments? Treasurer's report.
I don't have much. Jackie and I are just working on the summer tax roll. We're gonna settle with the assessor next Tuesday. Other than that, those are, ready to go. So I have to get back to millage rates and hopefully, those for the energy.
Let's try to help you out here. Anybody here wish to waive their summer taxes and not get a bill, so she doesn't have to send that bill? Go ahead and raise your hand. Cut out some of those bills. Questions? Clerk's report.
AV applications went out in the mail today, and tomorrow I have a mandatory board of our Bureau of Elections training.
Questions?
How much of the AV applications went out today?
AV applications.
Okay, I couldn't understand that.
How many are on the ballot for the trustee position?
Should be two that I know of. Still could be write-ins and stuff.
Which side of the ballot?
All three Republican.
Anything else? Planning Commission.
Our meeting was busy one, sort of. We got the applicant for a farm and or drainage. That went through. There's a lot of questions from Jeff about who gives the bill of occupancy, and how does it go through with like grading and whatnot? Who's making sure all grading is correct, everything's about that. I'm sure I'm gonna get a hold of you, Mike, about that. Then the other one is the memorandum, which is on the agenda item tonight.
So, reference your first question. Clerk spoke to me afterwards, and go back to my tenure as planning commission chair. Actually, I had a checklist, and so we are trying to dig back from 26 years ago when I was in. That's to kind of follow along because it made it really simple to just check off the different things, and so things were not skipped, things were not sent out or missed being sent out. It also made us more cognizant of the escrow account and where the applicants were at in that process as well. So between now and the planning commission meeting, get that out so that we have a planning commission agenda they can review. See if that works well. Questions? Fire chief.
We've been fairly busy, nothing significant, but because of power outages and the wires down, and we've got a number of those. And tomorrow, it's giving our trucks in Lapeer different times. We're doing our annual pump test tomorrow. We do those in Lapeer, in conjunction with Lapeer, the same way they do it that way.
You do it, Meyer.
No, we do it right at the fire hall. Lapeer's fire hall. We're required by our risk management to have a pump tested every year.
Our risk management. Any questions for Chief? County Commissioner.
Yeah, you touched on the Pro Q&A. I think that's a great asset for the local dispatch system there because it does. We kind of go from flip cards and index cards to computer-based, maybe A&I. Our AI-based, where somebody calls in and, there's definitely definitive instructions on how to communicate with the person on the other end there. It does affect our insurance and our, like you said, our ISO rating here for fire class protection. So it does benefit everybody in the community that owns property and has insurance. I think it's a great idea, and it's a good investment on part of what we approved over there. Next is Jackie Bennett. She's been our interim financial director. Starting June 1st, she'll be our permanent appointed Chief Administrative Controller. She finished her education requirements, she qualifies for that position now. So she will be taking over as the administration controller for Lapeer County there. She's done an awesome job. She's very sharp and well versed in that function. So we welcome that. So moving on to, we got something that we also talked about was the authorization of the board to designate, and this is through Emergency Management EMAC, we had an emergency fund set aside for declaration of emergencies and disasters, and it was never really funded, but it was kind of like a hypothetical fund of $30,000, which is minuscule in today's dollars. So we authorized that increase to $100,000. It'll be a line item actually on the books there for that expenditure. It's only for declared emergencies and disasters. So gives our Sarah the assets and availability of funds needed to deal with these things as they come about, because there's not a whole lot of time. By the time you actually have an emergency and you start to pay for all these different functions. So we did that. Moving on to, we created an ad hoc committee. The local jurisdiction continues the village revenue captures. Good example would be seniors, the seniors millage, the veterans millages and all that. All the jurisdictions, DDAs and city and downtown authorities have the option they do have the option, they can say no, capture a certain portion of the villages that are intended for purposes strictly, according to the taxpayers. 99% of the taxpayers don't even know if this exists, but it is a law that they can capture a portion of these villages here and use them for these functions within these DDAs. And so we are trying to put a lot of pressure on these jurisdictions to not do this anymore. We were successful. I think we're still dealing. Elmont's kind of hold out. Only cities cooperating. I think the city of Lapeer is in limbo a little bit, but there are a lot of other jurisdictions that say we're not going to recapture villages from the seniors. We're not going to do it for veterans and EMS, which I think is a great idea, because this money goes to those maybe for good cause, and however you want to define that. But people vote for these villages with the intent and the idea that this money is going to be spent on what that village is proposed to do. And so I try to explain that to somebody, and kind of give the deer in headlights look and say, why is this happening? It's not what I voted for. So we put in some pressure. We have an ad hoc committee that Chairman Howell set up. Amy Kemp is the chairman. Commissioner Hagedorn and Commissioner McMahon are on that committee. So we're going to start to put a lot of pressure on these folks to try to get that changed. We have the senior millage is on. We approved the ballot language for the August 4th ballot. It is a renewal, but it also has a 16% increase on it. And it is on the August 4th ballot. And that's all fine. My big opposition has nothing to do with seniors throwing branding off the cliff, as it is to the fact that we need to reach out to our most voters as we can. When we put these countywide villages, I'm not talking about local villages, I'm talking about countywide villages on a ballot for a primary. I think we're kind of disenfranchising a lot of folks. People are on vacations in the summertime, they're not around. The legislature did pass Senate bill, or House Bill 4583 and 4584 that says that those bills that changes the rules say that those anything that has to do with tax increases, bond issues, and all that will be placed on the November general election ballot. I think that's a great idea, only because you're reaching out to an additional 100% of the people. Because I have the statistics on the 2020 election, where the August primary, we had 25,641 people show up to vote, but on the November 3rd primary, general election, 52,960 people voted. Same thing goes forward. You look at 2022, 23,890 compared to 44,198, and 24, we have, ballots cast were 19,513 compared to 55,697. So I think this needs to be in front of most people. I think it's a fair representation to have as many people involved in this process. I am working on trying to put together a resolution for the county. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere to say that this is something that we need to do. It did pass the House. It's in the city, it's actually in the Senate, in the Committee of Elections and Ethics right now. It passed the House on 3/17, which is March 17th, and I don't know where it's going to go from here. I don't know that it'll be any traction until after the general election, or after the election in November. So, but that's just my position. I'm not opposed to that, the ballot, or the language in the ballot. I'm not opposed to, if people want to decide they want an increase in the millage and people vote on it, I'm good with that. But I think we need to put it in front of as many people as possible. That's my personal opinion as your commissioner. And I think of other commissioners as well, and I'm working on that. What else do I have here? A couple resolutions in a row. Land Bank Authority Board, we have 2 representatives. We have vacancies of 3-year terms. We appointed Ian Kemp actually made a nomination for Janelle Costa and Tina Pavanow for a 3-year term on the Land Bank Authority Board. We are also the Truth in Taxation. I know that's on your agenda tonight. We'll talk about that. That actually is going to be a hearing on the 11th of June at our cow meeting. And shortly thereafter, the public hearing, and we'll vote on the truth of taxation. I don't see anything with it that is alarming, but I'm sure you might have some things to add to that as a board here in Elba Township. That's pretty much all I have as far as Trustee Park, the saga continues. We have a new contractor for the pool over there, and actually, we really got laid in the weeds by the previous ones. They really made things hard, not for us, but the general contractor family, Rewald company. And so we were able to bond them, and we're going after them. They said they sent stuff, they didn't, and the stuff they sent was old, it was outdated, or it was just not adequate, and it was the wrong stuff. So we're going through all that stuff with the contract, and Midwest Pools is who we contracted with right now. They're on track, and they're just going, full steam ahead here. And I'm really impressed by. I wish we'd have hired them to begin with. That park would be open by now. Might have been open last summer. So we're still aiming to have an opening sometime this summer. Maybe a soft opening, but the pool will be done. There's a lot of late issues that I think when I went out there and visited the site that I think, and I hope it's not true, that they'll find after stuff that's underground that you can't see that the other pool company did, and they didn't do it right. But we're Johnny on the spot with this. People out there working on this project. So we have to get this ARPA money spent and doled out by the 31st of December this year, or we lose it. And I think we're on track to do that and have that park. Park will definitely be open next summer. I said that last summer too, but it will be open, and hopefully we can get the soft opening this sometime in late July, maybe 1st of August. Questions?
Is General Square open?
Yes.
Next, GLTA down on the 13th. Outside of our regular business, a couple of issues that we took care of. Bus 51, which last month, transmission in. This month we're putting an engine in, and the board opted to put a new engine in as opposed to doing some repairs on the current one. The one had to do, there wasn't a whole lot of price difference, but the other one was the warranty aspect. Because of the nature of its failure, replace those items that were physically damaged, but what damage was in there. So we felt it was money better spent. Probably 82,000 miles on this diesel engine, so diesel or gas engine, that's right. 82,000 miles on this.
It's a shame that
weekend was the board gave authorization to buy, I'm gonna say, up to four new to us buses, but they're not the,
No, the transit.
yeah, they're, I'm gonna refer to it, but they're not buses like you see going around there for our Rides to Wellness program, which is the small vehicles that you see transported for our Rides to Wellness program. 3 of them were at 10,000, and the fourth one was a little bit older, and that was up to $8,000. So the total of 30 buses.
I do. So the 2016 is off the table because they're still looking for 10,000 plus $4,000 for that vehicle retail. We are going up on Thursday to actually do a reevaluation. The one vehicle that was had a coolant leak, I believe should be repaired. They were paying for it, which I wasn't so sure they were going to repair it before selling it. So that's kind of a positive for us because it was about $1,100. So we're going to go up and look at them on Thursday, Jan 9. And I do believe it will be in Wednesday's paper, but our Ed is supposed to be putting a article about our Rights to Wellness program. Wednesday's paper is when I think it's coming out.
Questions? EMS.
It was pretty quick last week. They had Jordan Smith, which was their representative from Matter Mysterian, presented their 2025 audit. They did pass, they didn't have any issues with anything, so that was good. Russ, the director, is happy with the progress that he's making with the EMS MC. They're providing their weekly reports that they promised that they would back when they were having issues with their funds back from Blue Cross. They've been doing really well with that. And then as of 5/19, Russ had an order in for 42 Dole AEDs, which are automated external defibrillators. He was able to get a group pricing rate of $1,500 a piece. So they had to make a motion for EMS to cover all of the funds not to exceed $65,000, but all of those funds will be reimbursed by the municipalities that it's ordering for. And he did say, I don't know if he got 1 or 2 for Elba, or a couple for Elba, 4?
Yeah. We have ones here.
Two at the fire station, one here, and then one with the full car.
Good deal. Was the original price was $3,000.
Yeah.
And it was a group discount, like down to 2,500, but like doing it all, brought down to 1,500. So
1,500.
yeah, we cash plans and things. So, all right. Any questions on that? All right, brings us down to our first agenda item, our truth in taxation public hearing. It is a public hearing, so we will have a separate public time within this for the purposes of questions solely related to the truth in taxation hearing. So, with that, does anybody wish to speak? Public comment truth in taxation hearing. Hearing and seeing no one, we'll close that, bring it back to the board for their action. Just so the board and the public is aware, this is our annual event. Elba Township is not rolling back and collecting more. We are collecting the maximum amount with our rollback. So in other words, if you started off with, say, 3 mills X number of years ago, little by little, it dwindles down 2.9, 2.7. So both the township and the fire village is proposing to collect exactly that amount. Any discussion here on the board? That's the board's pleasure. Or does anybody have any questions, I guess? That's
The
not
numbers
going
are
on.
reduced by the rollback. I got the numbers from equalization. Actually, our assessor gave me the numbers.
That August is the last time it was reviewed, voted on by. So the fire village is Board's pleasure.
And it's just reduced by the head of the road.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to accept the truth in taxation total levy amount of 2.6789 as presented.
Take the name for that one. I'll support.
Motion's been made and supported. It is a roll call.
Boskee,
Yes.
Yes.
Gualdoni,
Yes.
Dreier,
Yes.
Bales,
Yes.
Fountain, yes.
That resolution has carried. Fee schedule. Next is our annual review of fees for within the township, different applications, special land uses, appeals, etc. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or issues with what is in front of them?
Do we have any fees that are not being, I know they're paid by the resident, but I mean, are we all set with the fees that they're being covered at 100%?
No. But when they were set up, and I would use, for example, home occupation is $150. If you do the per diems, it doesn't cover that. But those are held in conjunction with another agenda items, and it's a carrot stick type thing. Warranty for home occupation, they get. We want to encourage people to comply with it. Our residents, these are our residents that are coming in for these issues. So that's an example of no. The other ones, are we going in the hole in any of them that are?
Let me multiply out the per diems, it's $745 to the planning commission, $565 to have a ZBA.
So for example, ZBA, that is an issue where they're asking for, special permission. I think that, that would be worthy of at least paying for our actual cost
And that does.
at $575, $300. Oh, that's an appeal.
56 ZBA. And the meeting cost $565.
I'm on the wrong line.
Obligation's probably about 45.
So yeah,
Yes.
I'm on the wrong line. I'm on the appeal.
We are currently, but if we raise any per diems, is that gonna, should we maybe look at per diems between?
We could, I don't know that, for myself, I was proposing any per diem increases.
Well, I'm just saying that I wasn't either, but I'm just saying that if that was the case, then that could change what we need to charge for fees.
I myself did not, so.
Okay.
Anyone want any changes, or if not, any motion to approve them to the end for 26?
I'll make a motion that we, submit the fee schedule as presented.
I'll support. Motion's been made and supported to authorize the fee schedule as presented for the 26-27 year. Anything else? We have our per diems. Does anybody see anything in there that, they think needs to be increased?
I'd like to give the deputy clerk a 3% cost of living raise. Haven't had a raise in 3 years.
When the average was $3, so.
Oh, we're doing it for a clerk, we're gonna do it for the deputy treasurer as well? Just saying.
I have no issue with that.
Think even 3% local.
Is there a reason why we have different wages for the two?
We don't start before the other. Britannia in 1963. 60 cents.
So just,
So approximately the same thing for Jackie, if that were the case. Maybe 58 cents or something. I don't think it's ridiculous when the cost of everything's going up and up.
So probably we should handle these separate though. So you're saying that everything above, so as far as like the hall rental setup,
I'm talking about the deputy's compensation.
I know, but Mike started with any of the per diems, that's not actually a per diem, it's an actual hourly wage.
Compensation.
So that's why I'm saying that anything before, you're saying keep the same?
I did not make a motion for anything else to change, right?
I didn't say to make a motion, I'm just saying that.
so
I didn't propose that, or whatever you.
So we could handle it one of two ways. Approve everything to that point in one motion, have a separate one for the deputy positions, or we can simply have one motion that says, as presented, with the exception of a 3% raise for the deputy positions. One motion, whichever.
I prefer two, but, I just wanted to ask about the hall rental, so we're set with that. They're okay with that? They're being covered for their time?
I don't know. Nobody approached me about it any differently.
Okay, I'm just asking, because I mean, that's like taking stuff every single weekend, I mean, not every,
I actually don't charge for every single time they have to.
but that's what I'm saying.
There's multiple meetings, they don't even put it on their schedule. So they're doing some stuff for nothing. So I know that they don't have an issue on the hours.
I just want to make sure, because that,
That's a lot.
weekend,
Well taken. That is,
and those people are hard to find, that are that committed.
They're very trustworthy.
you could,
Efficient.
this board, even though they didn't, if somebody wanted to raise that, it's a motion of it. It's the board's pleasure. Pretty simple.
I'll make a motion to leave the per diems as is and raise the deputy's compensation by 3% each. Effective July 1st.
Do we have support?
I'll support.
Motion been made and supported to adopt the schedule as presented with the change of a 3% increase for the deputy positions. Anything else? All in favor of the motion, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Next on your agenda, salary. First time book, so I'm just gonna tell you I'm not looking for it, so you can adapt mine exactly like this.
I'll make a motion that we, adopt the supervisor salary, same as last year.
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Is there any further discussion? This is a resolution.
Boskee,
Yes.
Yes.
yes, Lintz, oops, Dreier,
Yes.
Bales,
Yes.
Gualdoni,
Yes.
Motion has carried. Next is the resolution to establish the township's treasurer salary.
I would be fine the same as well.
Best support.
I'll support.
Motion's been made and supported. Is there any further discussion? Roll call
Boskee,
vote. Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
yes, Gualdoni,
Yes.
Dreier,
Yep.
Bales,
Yes.
Next is the township clerk salary.
Same as last year.
I'm leading the meeting. You guys are making motions.
I know.
I'm just trying to hurt the games.
We do have for everybody, let's make a motion to, keep the salary the same.
Support.
It's been made and supported. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Boskee,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
yes, Gualdoni,
Yes.
Dreier,
Yes.
Bales,
Yes.
Motion's carried. Next one, easy.
I'll make a motion to leave the trustee wages the same as last year.
Support.
No change.
Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? Roll call vote.
Dreier,
Yes.
Boskee,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Bales,
Yes.
Gualdoni,
Yes.
yes.
Motion is carried. Next is our budget for the 26-27 year. You have in your packet the proposed budget. Actually, you've had it in the packet for a couple of meetings now. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? I will start off with the items that I had questioned. For example, a planner, the attorney, or attorney not legal, but in anticipation of ordinance 200 work, planner, because we haven't had one for a while, for ordinances, we should have one. I will just touch again on the last, but now this is the parking lot, ceiling and so forth. So I went through and done a little bit. For example, we have $20,000 in hall maintenance for the hall right now. Of course, that's inclusive of mowing and everything else to get where we're at. I don't really know. I know the fire chief did the ceiling of the fire station lots here last year, the year before. Company was pretty spot on, and our lots are in much better shape than the fire station lots. Going to require a whole lot less of the crack ceiling and so forth. There's a couple of bigger ones here, and for the board's information, I intend on filling those prior to. My wife has me pretty well trained on doing Burger King lots, so I think it'll be a little bit better and easier for the ceiling thing. So I have less concerns about that. attorney, we have two different, we have for the township, and we have for the planning commission. And, you know, two of those together, again, I think that we're in the ballpark to at least get things rolling and so forth, so I don't have as much. The planner, where that's gonna come in, they have the planning commission, they have professional services, which we had previously, you know, we had AEW, we had, the attorney, not much with the attorney, usually. We have in the past year or so, with the planner coming on board, but again, I see them being used about as frequently. Where we have a site plan that comes in and we send it off for AEW to do a review, it's similar in CCA to do zoning. Planner would do a similar thing. I've had conversations with some different planners. Some municipalities ask them to be at every meeting. Elba Township has never been one of those where we have attorneys at all our meetings or engineers, etc. So I don't think that that's going to be a great expenditure either. That's the things that I covered that were.
The first one will be under our laptop.
What's that?
It's still under the hull, but it's arm and laptop repairs and maintenance of the laptop.
But that was for.
That would be for sealing and stuff. The grounds maintenance is for the hull.
I know, but we don't have a line item for that. We don't have a budget amount.
We would have to put a budget in there for that. You're right, we don't. But previously, we were done working on the parking lot, that's where it goes. We have to add to that line item, not the other.
But just, Mike, do you remember, what was your bill for what was your bill for?
I'm trying to think, I think for the two parking lots was $6,000. That was striping and everything. But our parking lots combined are as big as this one.
And then we would have to add it to the maintenance as well. Whatever the cost is going to be, it has to be added to this. Because the grounds and maintenance, you do the, shoveling and repairs, that maintenance.
This year, especially between the mowing and the snow. Salting is what kills us, not the pushing snow.
Well, that's 13,000, we haven't got the rest of the bills yet.
None? We haven't got any?
Maybe not. No, well, I think we did get one.
Because they mow.
Because it's gonna be,
Oh,
it's monthly, so you get weekly bills for the grass cutting. But it doesn't matter, the money for the blacktop should be under 101,265, 745.
000.
Yeah. Aren't an equipment we do for the generator. Or we can wait till we get a bid and put it in then.
I think that I'd rather start with that, as we start with having something in there, and take it accordingly. $6,000 is smaller, but there's a whole lot more they spend on crack filling than what they're ever gonna do here.
To balance the budget, it's fun balance transfer in.
Right.
You know, put 10 grand in there, whatever. It's balanced that way.
I think that would be a good number. Don't anticipate the cost of that.
say you wanted to add some more to the attorney, or you didn't really need it?
Like we didn't do it this time,
Okay.
depending upon how, because I don't even know where we're gonna start on that process. And it could be that that doesn't start until next year, January, February. Which by the time that process goes through, we'll be in another budget year. Anybody else?
So just to verify, the trails and maintenance, that's the trail that is on,
No, it's a private road, runs off of Bassett.
Oh, that's right.
That's a homeowner, Trails Inn and Golf Vista are both.
I knew Golf Vista was, but I guess I was. So how much do we put into the trail off of, pardon?
Trade Center Way.
Trade Center.
Next to nothing other than, for years, it was breakfasts, and now it's kind of all still donor. I mean, I take my chainsaw down there, we do buy Roundup, but I use it on, buy it on the township credit card, and I actually use it Fireball, I use it here, I use it there, just as a piecemeal, but other than that, we haven't.
Do we know how many access then?
Counter, I mean, generally, I know it when they call it complaint that there's a tree that's fallen over, or there's pallets of papers.
Yeah.
Those all, well, there's pallets, debris. I guess there is we have to tread back, which I forgot something that supervisor report, but that goes hand in hand with that bird cemetery. We have, throughout the years, identified, just given it a dollar amount, and then, Right Touch goes out and does leveling of the foundations, and we've done that. We're in pretty good shape with those. It's been about 10 years since we've done the actual trim back of shrubs and, those sort of things. Little henries, we kind of trim them in the off season. They have to be where they have weeds and that on them. And, we put new fencing around there. We're starting to get like maples and that are growing into the fence that need to be cut out and so forth. And then we have a couple of sinkholes that need to be filled level for mowing and other reasons. Same at Trade Center Way Park. We cleared that back, and where it is where it is, and so we get the same thing. The brushing that starts to reclaim that. That's part of Grand Terra's mowing. But there's a pile of pallets to the right of the entrance there, and the mowing is non-existent this year because of the rain. It's standing. It's the ditch is all we mow. It's just that. And, with all it's basically a wetland area, so the bottom of and that's been standing water virtually all season. But that's the only expenditures that we have on a routine basis is the mowing. That's part of Grand Terra's contract. Calendar together, and but it's negligible. I mean, all the money basically goes to this one. And its intended purpose is a nature park. It's not designed to, get into there. But I will tell you that with the loss of Dave and Phyllis, that was a big hindrance. That was their pet project. Anything else with budgets? Any changes, needs, change? Yeah. Anything else? This is, as it says, a public hearing, so I'm gonna do the same thing with this. Open it up for public comment. If anybody in the audience has any comments strictly to the budget, now is your opportunity to address the board. State your name and
Is this for both budgets or just,
it's all budgets.
okay, so it's,
Yeah.
okay.
So with, so it'll be, yeah, it'll be all that part. That's all the golf is, that's have their own, because it's separate line items.
Rena, you said something about a change in this one?
No, I actually didn't change it, I was going to, but I didn't.
Can I close the public
We
hearing?
did.
Hearing and seeing no one, I close the public portion, bring it back to the board here.
After I asked the question, I'm like, sorry. Yes,
What's the board's pleasure? And so you know,
I'll make the motion
so you know that's in there, okay.
to approve the proposed budget for general fund, fire fund, capital improvement fund, Gulf Vista Road maintenance fund, Lake Nipissing weed control fund, Potter's Lake weed control fund, Lake Nipissing Potter Lake sewer fund, and Trails and Road maintenance fund for the fiscal year 2026-2027 as amended.
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. This is a resolution, so it requires a roll call.
Gualdoni,
Yes.
Fountain, yes. Boskee,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Bales,
yes.
Dreier,
Yes.
That resolution is carried. Brings us down to our next data center moratorium from Planning Commission. Mr. Dreier, the floor is yours.
The past couple, 3 meetings, we've been talking, it gets brought up at the end about data centers. Quite a few people quite a few of the board members are, worried per se, that the data center's gonna pop up. Haven't seen anything yet, but better to be safe than sorry so they wouldn't like a moratorium. I did a little bit of research, I didn't read the one that Rena sent in there, but, I had one from Michigan State, saying that we probably shouldn't go anything over 2 years on anything zoning required, which is a standard 6 months. I think we put in a year, if I remember right. The only thing with the moratorium that I can think of that would be better is it shows that we do see a problem there. And if, say, the data center pops up, we can already say we're trying to work on it to get an ordinance versus if they come to us and say we want it, we go, oh, yeah, well, we don't know yet. It's just trying to push the cart a little bit faster, try to make sure that we're prepared. Understanding if we're doing a moratorium, that there should be an ordinance right behind it. That's the only other thing I could say, and that costs money.
How much money does an ordinance cost?
It's not that much.
So here's our attorney, happens to be very well versed in this because a couple of the communities that he represents actually have this going on in their community. So, I've had conversations with them long prior to the planning commission's concerns here, kind of just back and forth off the record, what are and so forth. I will tell you generally our attorney's not really big on moratoriums. His whole philosophy is just do the ordinance, and then if somebody comes in, they simply, we normally have like our 90-day site plan and everything else anyway, he said, then, you can say, hey, we're right in the middle of this ordinance. That being said, the shorter the moratorium, the better it is. I don't think that a 2-year moratorium is ever going to withstand any challenge by his zone them so that they have to be served by municipal water as opposed to the well field, or that they have to be within half-mile or quarter-mile of public electric utilities capable of supporting that, which, just so you know, none of Elba Township has either one of those. But that would, you know, basically require annexations and so forth to the city of Lapeer. So if we were to do that and then say zone it in the southwest corner of Elba Township, that would be disingenuous and not going to stand the muster up. But industrial zones, municipal water, accessibility to electric infrastructure are all key items for an ordinance. So if we do the moratorium today, it's a very rare occurrence, but I think it would also serve us well. I know a bunch of planning commission members have never met them, and him. I would suggest having our attorney attend planning commission meeting for a Q&A and back and forth, and put a name to the face, and also have somebody who has experience in dealing with these and what you can and can't do, and what's a good suggestion, and et cetera.
I would think prior to that, we should direct them to work on it, that we want the ordinance or not. Maybe see if Bob's already got something, you can give them as a starting point.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what I'm saying, you know, get an established one out there, but then actually have the person, you know, sit there and answer, and go back and forth in real time with the planning commission members and legal counsel to back and forth these things out. So an ordinance, or excuse me, a motion today should, if we're going to do a moratorium, set the time, and then with the directions to explore the creation of a data center ordinance.
I would make a motion to have a moratorium until such time as an ordinance can be created.
No.
Not to exceed 6
No.
6 months.
I said not to exceed 1 year. Oh, it isn't even finished.
That's what you want. So you want a year? Okay.
I don't know how long it's gonna take, if he's got something created, if he can make the meeting, I mean, we meet once a month, so.
Do you understand what a data center is? And
Does he understand?
not what we need to
Oh, yeah.
be
Yeah.
forward.
And that's why I'm suggesting, you know, as opposed to trying to find, you know, classes on or reading online.
Correct.
You know, you guys have a meeting, actually have somebody who's dealing with it. You know, not just an attorney that has read up on it, or who's actually dealing with it from the municipal side of then coming to his communities. So we have a motion, do we have support?
I'll support.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Now we come down to real public time. Anybody in the audience wish to bring anything to the plan or to the board? State your name and address and have at it. Mr. Bishop, Matthew Dreier.
I'll come up and speak just for, so someone comes up and speaks and participates for somebody. My name is Matthew Dishman, I'm 3797 Mitchell. I'm on the Planning Commission. Thank you for that. Washington Township just passed an 18-month moratorium. So, and their room was really packed, which you can see online. But thank you, I appreciate that. I think it's
important that we have something in place for this. And we have our work cut out for us. So.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Mike, on every 4924 Stewart Road, see, are they getting ready to put tubes in out here? You heard when they're gonna do that?
Which ones?
Oh, and the other 4 of them out through here.
No communication whatsoever.
I was wondering,
I saw the flagging at the various ones, but I will tell you that nobody has communicated with that.
I was wondering if they're grinding up the solid road.
They are, it is in this year's budget, excuse me, their budget, their plans to do up to Lippincott Road.
I thought they were doing tubes now.
They were in front of your house this morning, Gables. So they're doing the same thing on Hammond as well.
Anybody else? All right, close public time, and then just a response to yours, so you know our attorney does in Washington Township. That is his township. A little bit, for the audience, a little bit different situation. That's directly across from the Ford Motor plant, the airport, and it is on the site of a former golf course, country club, so they have several hundreds of contiguous acres in the corner of 32-mile road and N53, water, electric, all those sort of things that Elba Township has. All right, went through the agenda, declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you everyone for attending. What was he doing on the road? Just checking out
Already great.